Greetings, Warlords. Rodge here. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. We are joined once again by a fool in a hat. How's it going?
Good.
He obtained a hat this time, so
this time I remembered.
Some would say there are now two fools in hats. Andy Lyons, you're a cheeky fella. Thanks for watching after all these years still. Today, though, we're going to be talking about the English from Age of Chivalry. So that's pretty cool. You volunteered to do this, my friend. So have you been getting in a fair number of games with these guys? Are they your kind of main faction?
Also, they've been my main faction since the Chivalry came out.
Okay, cool.
Decided to try to nail down how they work first thing.
Sure. So what drew you to the English? Why did
Longbows.
you? Longbows. Yeah. So interesting faction for sure. I think you are on the money there. I think this is kind of one of those factions that is going to be a landing place for a lot of people. You know, if you think about Vikings or Spartans, Knights Templar, I think the English are right up there. So this faction review, I think, will be well served, well useful to the community out there. So thanks for agreeing to do it. And let's just get to it. And first up, for equipment options, the Warlord and Hearthguards have no equipment options. As is, the Warriors can be equipped with bows. They could be just kind of foot sloggers. And then a single unit of up to 8 figures can be mounted. And then there's no levies. Where are the levies?
Nope.
No levies here. Okay. So what kind of have you settled on as kind of maybe your default, or just what have you been using lately for the English?
Usually it is 1 point Hearthguard, 4 points Warriors, and 1 point for some kind of mercenary.
Sure, yeah.
Usually it's foreign men-at-arms, but I vary that a bit.
Okay. So the foreign men-at-arms, what is their kind of shtick as mercenaries? Just curious.
6 Warriors, armored like Hearthguard.
Ooh, juicy.
And you can choose if they are mounted or if they're on foot. If they're on foot, they get 2 bonus attack dice, 2 bonus defense dice in every melee.
Ooh,
if
cool.
they are mounted, they have double aggression on the charge.
The old double aggression mark. Many an age seems to work those guys in, and I don't know. I always seem to be on the receiving end of that. For the Warriors, how do you like to equip those then?
The usual one is a unit of 10 with no special equipment, and then 2 units of 9 and a unit of 4 with bows.
So three shooting units then, a big pack, and then two small packs. Okay, yeah.
2 big, 1 small.
Okay, so that's kind of in line with what I'm thinking. So I think kind of the people's first builds of the army or whatever, if you're thinking about maybe the mythology of those battles, taking like all archers, you'd think would be a good idea. And we've seen in the past, in Saga, shooting. There's a lot of good shooting war bands out there. So you might assume this is another good shooting war band, but it's actually, it's kind of in the combined arms camp.
Yeah.
I would say it kind of ends up. So, it's kind of cool to hear you kind of say that. I have played like a little game with the English. My local fella let me borrow them. I played against my buddies, Saracens. So a little cross-play game there. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I took 2 bigger units and then 2 smaller units. And then he just had Hearthguard, but I think a warrior unit on foot seemed to be, I wish, after the Hearthguards got crossbowed up, I was like, okay, wish I would have had another warrior unit on foot maybe. So it sounds like you're kind of in the ballpark there for what I was thinking after one game.
I can safely say that my big unit of warriors on foot without bows, they are the best unit in the game, almost every game.
Yeah, so I think it's
they are the heavy lifters.
Just some like dissonance there. You know, what you might think should be good to take, like, isn't necessarily what you want to take, the way that the game of Saga works. So we'll just kind of keep that in mind as we go. And we do have to mention there is a Welsh variant. Have you ever messed around with that?
I have not tried those. I need the ability to close ranks.
Yeah. So the difference there, Warlord Hearthguards are mounted. The warriors are mounted or equipped with bows. So not a single close ranker in the list. I have played against it. It's kind of interesting. I don't know that it's definitely different. I don't know that it's better, but definitely different. Okay. So let's jump to that battle board then. So up top, it is a little different here. And we've got longbowmen and sergeants, activate unit of warriors or mercenaries. So we haven't really looked at the other board. Do the other boards specify mercenaries specifically, or is this like an English thing?
That's just English.
Okay. So I think it's
probably so you can activate the levy mercenaries in some way.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, yeah, you can kind of activate the levies like warriors. That's pretty cool. I'm assuming there probably is. Are there Hearthguard mercs out there too? Just off the top of my head, I don't know.
I don't think so. There is the knight, a hero mercenary.
Okay, so he might use this. But he is a hero too, though. So whatever.
You can use either.
We're not gonna figure that out here today. That's not our point. No. But we do want to talk about Wall of Arrows. So this is an uncommon or rare. Activate up to 2 non-mercenary units to shoot. They must choose different targets. So I think that's a pretty cool stipulation in a way to kind of tamp down the power of shooting, which normally is just focusing fire and lighting somebody up that way. So there is ability that's kind of similar to this below, that is its own thing. But so are you using Wall of Arrows?
Usually, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just like a standard shot.
It's not every turn, but I think it's most turns.
Yeah, so this is a good way. You talk about those 4-packs. So this is a good way to, you don't want to spend a die to activate a 4-pack to shoot and get 2 shots. But if you're going to activate the big unit and those little guys can tag along, yeah, sure. That's a good thing. And if you're doing like a different configuration, with more warriors shooting, more bowmen or something, you're going to end up with these dinky units anyways, after fighting and stuff like that. So just kind of being able to always activate those to just at least do their little plink shots, I think is pretty cool.
Yep.
And then combat bonus, we got a special one here. We get one of the only, maybe there's another one, combat bonus that can use the dice for shooting as well, get like additional attack dice. So do you, have you taken advantage of this, or?
I have actually. This is one of the few boards where I use the combat bonus.
Sure. Yeah. So I think there's at least one ability I think gets you like a +1 to hit or something like that. So maybe having a really awesome super volley with an extra dice here. And then especially if you get those rares, sometimes you just roll like 5 rares, in a turn or something. So they're pretty good here. Cool. All right. Well, I have been yakking enough here, so I'm just going to turn this over to you. Wow. What's the name of that first ability?
The way I pronounce it. Not saying it's the correct way to pronounce it, but I pronounce it as Dieu et Mondroy.
Dieu et Mondroy. I think that sounds good. So it is a U. Yeah, they choose a themey, but maybe challenging to read some of those letters in English. So very cool ability. Uses 2 commons, melee or shooting reaction. Is a little stipulation there. You got to be with an S of a friendly hero or Hearthguard unit. You gain 2 defense dice and increase your unit's armor by 1. So 2 dice. 2 dice ability here, my friend. Is it?
But it's good.
Commons, though. So you always, pretty much, if you want to do this, you can.
Yeah.
Are you banking on this one? Are you using this?
You need commons for everything. But I've used this one more than a few times. It's very useful against crossbows.
Okay, yeah. When the crossbow shots are coming in,
yep,
you will use this to save your archers, or probably whatever they're shooting at.
That's what they're targeting.
Whatever. Yeah, kind of negates the +1 in a sense,
yep.
and gives you a couple defense dice. So it's cool that it's flexible as far as the melee or the shooting reaction. I guess that stipulation of with an S of a friendly hero or Hearthguard unit, I think, is kind of the main thing there.
It's a bit tricky.
Yeah, would you say
they will be in one big ball anyway?
the ball, the longbow ball.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so you got the Warlord, you got your separate Hearthguard unit. You could see covering maybe like a 12-inch bubble between those guys. So, yeah, decent ability. Juicier on the Hearthguard too, especially getting up to armor 6 or your Warlord. Yes. That's pretty cool. Can't complain about that. Nice one. The next ability up, this is the other like melee ability, although some of the other ones have some melee effects, but this is the is that an H? Hearse? Hearse? You can use any die you want. And unit with an S of another friendly unit. So you're talking about the ball here. They're kind of forcing you to be the ball. Gain 3 attack or 3 defense dice, 5 if you use a rare. So seems like another good one. What do you got to say?
Yeah. Every turn.
Yeah, I think so. 3 defense
2 dice on it. I would. It's that good.
Oh yeah, trigger it twice. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean 3 for 1. Attack or defense. Bump it with the rare. Again, that stipulation can be annoying. Like if you want to launch out a mounted unit of warriors or something, and then you're planning to use this, but then your opponent's like, well, actually, you didn't move up anything else, so you can't use it. So
that is the problem.
Yeah, just be careful in how you use it, and especially if you're counting on defense. If you're doing the long charge, you got to make sure you got to have another unit nearby. But you're saying you take the ball approach in deployment and moving up. So.
Pretty much.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'll let you handle this next one here.
Yeah. Lose an activation ability for a common. Activate up to 2 units equipped with bows for shooting attack with a range of 2 long.
Yeah,
they must choose different targets. If the target of the shooting attack is more than a medium away, its armor is increased by 1.
All right. So
it's not a spectacular ability, but it has its uses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for early game, sounds pretty good here.
Yeah. Nothing's in range. Otherwise, hey, you roll the dice, you might hit.
Mm-hmm.
And it will also be a psychological terror on your opponent. The fact that you're hitting them and they can't hit you does things.
Yeah. So this one's will kind of depend on the scenario, I think, whether you have to move up or not. Kind of what units the opponent has for shooting. Definitely it helps them. I think it's good to have this ability. It helps close the distance. And I've lost like a lot of troops to. People say, the armor, you're not going to do anything. But, like, I've lost Hearthguard. I've lost, like, 3 warriors in a single volley. Like, how many 4s versus 5s or 5s versus 6s are... You look at those dice, and, it made no difference. They were going to, devastate you anyways. I think it can be kind of tricky, dependent on the scenario, like I was saying, because this kind of encourages you to be static. And so... should you be moving up? You can move and shoot, but then you take a fatigue. But maybe you have another ability that lets you do it fatigue free, maybe. So, kind of interesting here. It's just a common though. So I think the one up top was uncommon and rare. Was that right? And if you're within medium, there's no downside really to using it.
If one of your big archer units is going to shoot within medium anyway, you might as well use this one. Activate the other archer unit. You might hit something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have to choose different targets again, but I mean, you can hit like most of the board with 2 L's in Saga. So it's just what your opponent has screened. Yeah, and it kind of messes with them too, I think. It said unless there's screens, so they kind of have to be careful about their screens, or you're going to be able to do these little plinky shots. And sometimes it's not about the casualties, as we'll see. There's other adverse effects. Shot, yeah. So, that's kind of cool. Right. Grueling Advance. So I'm curious. Think about this one. Uncommon orders. This is the sharp, pointy stakes. You place down a medium stick. This is at the start of your turn. So, you can put it in your own way. You gotta make that decision. Anybody crossing that with a move or charge suffers a fatigue. And then lasts your turn and the opponent's turn. So I think this is pretty cool. It's not a reaction though. You gotta put it down on your turn, and so you gotta be okay with not being able to move through it yourself. Typically, are you finding the dice to use this ability?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It's not every turn, but sometimes it's useful. Sometimes it might force the opponent to change their plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one for me, I think, is kind of if you're gonna double tap. Shoot twice this turn, but they're pretty close. You can use Grueling Advance, put the stick down, shoot twice from behind it. You take your fatigue, but if they come at you, they'll have an extra fatigue to kind of equalize that, I think is one way to use it. Have you been able to use it offensively in any way, or kind of hard to think of a scenario.
Slowly moving forward, yes.
What's that?
I had one game where I played this one several turns in a row. And every time I placed it, and then I moved my archers up to the stakes. And then next turn, stakes were a little bit further forward.
That's true, yeah. So there's still room for you to move behind them as you can kind of push up from safety. Keep your little ball so there's no dudes hanging out from the edges. And, just costs an extra Saga dice. So, if you can swing it or not will depend. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I'm kind of imagining somehow you can grab that objective and then you're dropping the stakes down. There's a sequence you have to figure out, but it can kind of, you moved up every turn behind the stakes. I can envision a turn where you move backwards every turn behind the stakes. Kind of deal. So that's pretty cool. All right. Very thematic. Very cool ability. Right. Rain of Arrows. I'll let you kind of give us the scoop on this one.
Very simple. Shooting ability, a common or a uncommon. And if you're within them, then you get a +1 to your shooting attack. Otherwise, you get 2 more dice.
Oh.
Either is good. Although I find that usually if they're within M, I want more dice.
Yeah. There is, I think JP, Activation Phase podcast, they have an English review, and he crunched the numbers and said when one is better versus the other. But mostly you don't really have a choice. The opponent moved up. No. You're typically not going to move before you shoot, or so it's gonna be what it is. Either one is fine. I do like just more attack dice to help fluff out those poor dice rolls. Give me a few more chances to hit. I feel is better than fewer dice. But So are you using this one? You
Yes. Once again, almost every turn, I think.
Yeah, it probably depends on kind of how many shooters you have. So you just have the 3 units, two quite small.
Yep.
You can see if you take like 5 shooters, it's probably best to just shoot with other units before you start souping them up necessarily. But if you don't have as many volleys going out, this one is good.
Also, if you're shooting with the big units, then 2 more dice is very nice. 5 dice versus 7. Yes, please, 2 more.
It's pretty good, yeah. 7 dice, nothing to sneeze at. All right. This one's coming up here with all haste. Popping back up to the top here. Uncommon or rare. Choose one of your units without ranged weapons. So your Warlord, Hearthguard, or some of your warriors. Activate any number of friendly units with an S of this unit to move. And then if you use a rare, they don't generate a fatigue. So the unit actually kind of the trigger for this can move as well with this. Yep. And they can, of course, drag some archers along for the ride. Yep. So if you're doing the ball deployment approach, it's probably a lot of units. Have you like moved up your entire army before with this? Or?
Not the entire army.
It's pretty, yes. S is pretty.
But 4 or 5 units, yes.
Yeah. This one, just by itself, kind of like makes me want to take the warriors versus the Hearthguard, because you can get like a much bigger spread with 8 warriors, or even like 12 warriors, versus like 4 or maybe 6 Hearthguards. So, just being able to move everything up is pretty cool. And then have it fatigue free is pretty awesome, especially if you want to shoot first and then move up. That's one thing I didn't quite get going when I tried out the English. Have you been able to kind of do that reliably, like shoot and then move?
I wouldn't say reliably. Need to roll a rare. But yes, many games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could see, shoot early, maybe long range, get the shots, and then move up. And you're not kind of, assuming you're using the rare, not kind of sinking yourself with fatigue. And then kind of mid-game, you could see shooting, and then hopefully you got the rare to back up and go backwards fatigue-free after the shot. So this kind of gives you some mobility one way or the other. Unfortunately, not able to use it for the holy fatigue-free charge. Every Saga player
not
wishes they could get that. Cool. All right. Hail of Arrows. Another shooting one. I guess I've been giving you all the shooting abilities, so I will continue that trend here. Yeah. Let us know.
Very easy. Your unit takes a fatigue, enemy unit takes a fatigue. And if you use a rare, you get 2 more attack dice. I don't know why you would use a rare on this one.
Yeah. Sometimes you got them, but this is cool.
I mean, it helps if you don't roll any uncommon. But I don't think I've ever placed a rare there.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming this is kind of where those 4 packs come into play. You don't want to give it to the 9-man, obviously. Yeah.
9-man, but 4-man? Oh, yes.
So these 4 packs, like, are you like literally just like, I mean, you could just keep them in your deployment zone and just do the 2 24-inch shots. They're like Saga Die batteries, Hail of Arrow batteries.
They're usually a bit forward, but they're not on the front line.
Okay, yeah.
They're hanging back in the area where there is less enemies.
Got it. Yeah, you could use them a couple different ways there, but this one is basically, even if you take a lot of shooting units, just kind of having a small dinky one kind of hang around in the back to take the fatigue for this ability specifically is good. And then what's extra nice is if your opponent spends that unit's fatigue right away, so they get rid of it for you and you don't have to worry about it later. I'm like, thank you for spending that fatigue on my guys. So just be wary if you're using it on like a 6 or 8 shot volley or something like that. They can use it right away. Now, moving down to St. George, and I think the others, a lot of the boards have a saint ability, a patron saint, and they're pretty good. And I would say this one's pretty good too. Activate a unit without ranged weapons for a charge. Don't worry, your bow warriors have their own activation charge ability that we'll get to at the end. But gains a +1 to bonus on all its attack and defense dice. But it is a common and a rare for this one. So we've got the rare for the fatigue free up top move. We got the rare here. There's a couple other rares sprinkled about. Where are you using the rare first? Is it this one or somewhere else?
Usually this one or with all haste.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think either of those are pretty juicy.
Yeah.
Rare abilities. So this one's cool.
But, I mean, I have used rares on hers as well. 5 dice is not to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on situation completely.
Yeah. So this gets you a charge, and you get a +1 attack and defense dice. So, I mean, overall, that's pretty good. Some boards, you have to pay 2 dice just to get like a +1 to hit.
Yeah.
So you're going to have +1 to hit, +1 defense. You could think like maybe 4 dice worth of value, then a charge on top of it. So kind of like 5. You're getting a lot of value here. Depends how highly you rate that +1 on those dice. But this can kind of negate a little bit. Like if you have to do a double move to charge.
Yeah.
This will kind of at least kind of keep it even still. So I think this is a pretty good ability to use with a large unit of warriors. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
This is my large unit of warriors is partly for this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
10 dice, +1 to hit. Maybe I trigger hers on the way in. That's a lot of heart.
Yeah, usually. So I played a few games against the English, and the most damage they've done has been a St. George charge. Usually, you can combo with a couple other abilities on top of it. So it's just kind of a brutal, devastating charge that they can do with this ability, and then the other one we shall get to. So they kind of have some surprising melee punch when they combine all those abilities together. You get 5 more attack dice, a couple defense dice, boost their armor. So even if it's like a long range strike, can hit surprisingly hard even when they come in with a fatigue. So
yes,
cool. Right, got Brothers in Arms, and theoretically I think this is very good. I never used it in my game or seen it used for some reason, but it's a common. Orders or orders reaction. Remove all fatigues from one of your non-mercenary units and place them on one or more friendly units with an S. And the unit keeps any fatigues you can't move, so you can't just like disappear fatigues off the game board. But now it makes sense. You say you got to bring the 4-man units up with you. I think I see now why those guys have to come with. Okay.
Is that you disperse the fatigue. Say you have your warlord is exhausted, and then you have 2 other units within range of him. Trigger this one. Suddenly you have 3 units, 1 fatigue each, 3 rest activations, and they are fit for fight.
Yeah, so that's cool. 3 units here. Yeah, usually an ability like this is limited to 1 unit, but 1 or more friendly units. So you could do 3 separate units. Yeah, I can see that having those little bow dudes behind to take this stuff. I mean, you could picture you could fire 3 times, actually 4 times, with your big unit. The fatigues are sitting there, and then your opponent's turn, you pop this, slink it to a little 4-man unit just hanging out in the woods or something behind them, and it's just very difficult for the opponent to get to. Doesn't remove the fatigues outright. You got to rest the old-fashioned way, but potentially pretty cool. This kind of reminds me of the Norse Gales, where you're slinking the fatigues off to the levies. Yeah, and you just got to win the game before the levies are completely full of fatigues, that is usually game over if you haven't won by then. But yeah, so you use this quite a bit.
Not every game, but sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. Just in my game, it didn't seem like just the way everything was set up and everything like it was going to be useful. Just the way that the battle was developing, but like I don't know. This is any warlord, any any battle board would want an ability like this. So very cool that they have it, and it's orders or orders reaction. So pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Right. Last one here isn't a shooting ability, but I'll let you do it because it's used by the archers.
Yep. Yeah. Mauls. You activate a unit of warriors with bows for a charge. Yes, that sounds suicidal. Mm-hmm. In the ensuing melee, each time you use one of the enemy unit's fatigues, gain 2 attack dice and 2 defense dice.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. If you're going against an exhausted enemy unit, the dream, you can get 6 attack, 6 defense. You don't even have to, sometimes against exhausted units, you just want to take them up so they auto miss. But no, just take them down and let your defense dice save you through. Yeah. So this one, I think, I don't know, kind of influences the opponent's play more than you get a chance to use it almost. It feels like. It's like, well, there's no way I'm going to leave a unit if I'm playing against English with 2 fatigues next to an archer unit, for example, or something. So it's going to like change my whole kind of battle plan. So I haven't really seen this ability used that much, but it's really impacted the battles. I feel like, at least from the battles that I've played. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I've used it a few times, but very rarely. But when you use it, by gods, they hurt.
Yeah, so your opponents aren't going to want to leave troops nearby. So this is another one that lets you're probably going to have to do a double charge or a move and then a charge to get it off. Mm-hmm. So it's just like a different way of kind of offsetting the fatigue that you're going to get, just with like hopefully a boatload of attack and defense dice. Have you ever used it with the little 4-packs? Curious.
No,
yeah.
The 4-pack,
it could be like
set it up.
You can get up to 8 attacks, 4 defense dice. Not bad. So yeah, very cool ability. Very threatening to have this on your board, and if you get a really juicy play with it once against an opponent, they're probably not going to let you do that again. Yeah. So
you don't get a second one.
All right. So that's it. We've gone through all the abilities here, and you kind of talked about the ball formation, and I think this army kind of plays different if it's more like a pitch battle versus the 3 objectives going across the middle line there. You got to spread your troops. We have a bunch of stipulations on being within S of each other. You want to sit and shoot, but somebody's got to move and grab that. So how do you tackle those games with the objectives? I mean, there's quite a few different variations and stuff. Sometimes some you grab and take back. Sometimes you hang out.
Yeah.
But what's kind of your approach, or how do you split up your troops, or think about that?
Usually, I try to go for denied flank, focus on one side of the battle, and then move across. Start with the left objective, then after that one, go for the middle. Okay. Yeah, I think just we're going to take 2 of these. Like, we can't contest all 3. So the one game I played had 3 objectives, and I did try to like contest. And then once I got started, I'm like, oh, okay, like this this isn't going to work. This unit over here can't even like pop any abilities, if they come at me. So yeah, I think just focusing on the 2, like you say, and if everything's going really great, could push for that 3rd one, get the max win maybe. But yeah, I like that idea, kind of sweeping from one flank there. And even though the enemies
way over there, maybe kind of grabbing that third objective uncontested, you can still reach out and shoot them with your long range shots, 24 or 12 inches. Probably good enough. So do you find there's like kind of a difference in your games, like as far as win rate between those objective ones versus more of a pitch battle?
Yes. Let's just say yes and not look too closely.
Okay. Yeah, I think in a pitch battle type scenario, I think the English are very, very solid, pretty balanced. It's just when tournaments and that, just lately we like to use objectives a lot. I don't know how it is by you, but most of the scenarios have these objectives, multiple objectives you have to grab. So just kind of the stipulations with your abilities having to be close to each other kind of can make that difficult. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're picking up the English here. Are they fun for you to play, my friend?
Sometimes not.
Depends how those first volleys go.
Yeah. Depends on how many objectives there are. But basically, they're like Vikings. If everything goes right, they're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you stall out, and then it's pain.
Okay. Yeah, I think there is definitely that danger. I mean, this is what I feel like. At some point, you have to like double tap and do two or three shots, maybe.
Yep.
You're not a super heavy shooting configuration, anyways. But the more units you have like that, at some time you just got to bite the bullet and do the double taps, and you're taking these fatigues, and was it worth it? The dice will tell you immediately if it was. So that kind of danger where you got to put it out there to make something happen, and sometimes you end up biting yourself in the foot. How do the opponents feel? Do they have fun playing against you?
So far, from what they've said, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think
it's tricky, it's difficult, but we're having fun games.
Yeah, I think that's kind of key, and maybe how this board was set up. And the game of Saga, pretty much any war game, people absolutely hate being shot up, like disproportionate. You can talk about balance and fairness, but people hate losing their models to shooting. So if the board is providing fun to the opponent, maybe not as much fun for you. I think that's kind of a win in that case.
Yeah. I think they could be tweaked a little bit. They're a little bit undercooked right now, but they're not awful.
Mm. Yeah. Perhaps, could get some tweaks. For me, I know this is where beginners are going to land, so I just wish it was a little more beginner friendly in how that manifests itself. I just think there's kind of a curse with these starter armies. The Vikings aren't necessarily a great place. The Militus Christi, the Knights Templar aren't. They kind of have changed, but they weren't a good faction to start with, I would say. The Spartans, I think they're fine. I don't think that Greek city-states board is a good introduction to the world of Saga. So I feel this has kind of fallen in that beginner player's curse kind of war band here, where they, for whatever reason, they just kind of haven't landed them, in my opinion, to be kind of a beginner friendly. And maybe they're not even thinking about that aspect. They're just kind of have their own perspective when building these, but it was just a bit of a shame. So have you tried any of the other mercs? What do you like about those warriors, the foreign men-at-arms?
They provide the punch. They are a very punchy unit when mounted. Mm-hmm. And they're also adaptable, so if you don't need something that can charge out and punch, then they're just very solid.
I kind of hit you with two questions there. Have you tried any of the other mercs?
Yes, I've tried the Knight. It's quite useful. He can protect your archers, so that basically your archers can close ranks. That is quite welcome. Mm-hmm. And he's a hero, so you can use Duet Monroy easily.
Oh, yeah. Got another another body out there. Maybe if you want to, if you're one of those people that just avoid Hearthguards like the plague, you could maybe take that guy. Then you still have 2 units. You could.
Or that guy and some Hearthguard.
Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
There are options.
All right, cool. Well, awesome.
I've also tried the Mercenary Pikemen. They were surprisingly fun.
Okay. Yeah, I think pikes are cool. Nothing to sneeze at there. Maybe you're kind of susceptible. Are you putting these guys in terrain mainly? Like if you can, the archers and stuff? Or
if I can, yes, because they are warrior archers.
Yeah.
They explode if people touch them.
Probably the toughest unit to work in Saga, potentially.
Yep.
Until the Hearthguard archers are revealed, it'll be the warrior archers. In Age of Magic, there are some Hearthguard archers, but yeah, nothing in the historical lands, but awesome. So, well, hopefully we gave folks some ideas here with the English, kind of a place to start with. And like I said, I think some people's dissatisfaction is you can't just take all archers and win the game, which you might think that you should be able to, taking some warriors. I've seen people swear by the mounted warriors as well. So you got like a warrior on foot, a mounted warrior, you've got a Hearthguard unit, is that what the English army looks like to you personally, or how you think it should be portrayed? It is a legitimate question.
Behind the English, that is the longbows.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's not how it works.
Yeah, so they definitely have a place in the warband, but you probably just can't take as many as you would like. Nope. So, all right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Fool in a Hat. Thanks for wearing that hat. So, taking some heat off myself, and had a blast today talking about the English. And I'd be curious if anybody has played with or against them. Some tips or tricks, or how they caught you out, or how you caught them out. I'd be curious to hear how your games have been going. And I do want to thank Sean, Patrick, Mitchell, Scott, Britt, DJ, Robin, Damien, Gallatin, Cruz, and the rest of the Saga Thursday patrons. Fool in a Hat, you are a patron as well. So thank you so much for your support. I wouldn't be able to do a video every week in 2025 without the support of you chaps out there. So I really appreciate it. And I think that is good. I don't know. Anything else to say about the English?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah. I think we hit it. I think we nailed it once again.
Yep.
And we're just going to end on a high note here. So, all right, folks. I'll check you later. Have a good one. Saga. If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon, or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.